Hello and welcome to the NUFC360 podcast. My name is Stuart. I'm here tonight with Joel, with Matt, and with producer Mark. How are you, gents?
Very well, Stuart. How are we doing?
Awesome. Well, not awesome actually, but we'll get into that. I'm here in person. Matt, how are you, mate?
I've been better, but I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit.
Producer Mark, what about you?
Probably emotionally and physically
Sound
drained.
great. You sound great.
I'm the only one that's doing good.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, look,
You've got youth on your side.
This is true. Well, that's very true. Actually. We'll carry on. We are going to talk about the weekend, sadly, for a little bit, and then we'll move on to other things.
Did something happen?
Something did happen, unfortunately. Sadly, we lost a final again. Thanks, Mark, for putting that up. Appreciate that. Thanks, Black Mamba. Appreciate that as well. I'd like to say it's for November, but it's not. We lost the. I keep called the Carling Cup final, by the way. Just something I've done. I do not know why that specific cup was ingrained in my head. The League Cup final, Manchester United 2-0 on Sunday. I wasn't there. Matt wasn't there. Joel, producer, you were there. Give us your days. What was your Sunday like? Joel, start with you.
Yeah, so started. Woke up nice and early. Started the day off right with the Gregs because why not? We're all northern. And then was just sort of hit the pubs around King's Cross. They were all very, very busy. And then later on, before the game, went up to the Green Man, which you might have seen the videos on Twitter with Darren Eales getting involved in the chants, which was all fun and games. And then obviously headed to the stadium. So yeah, it was an eventful day. Very good atmosphere everywhere you went as well. So it was good, yeah.
And the game itself, I mean, obviously apart from the result, atmosphere-wise, and
yeah,
how was that for you?
I mean, that was the first time I'd been to Wembley, and I walked to my seat, and I just it was just amazing to take in how big the actual stadium was. 90,000 fans, just over, I think it was 35,000 Newcastle fans, and then the display wall flags put on, the separate flags as well. They just all made for a great display in the atmosphere. I know this we'll probably get into it.
Go for it now.
Opinions, but I thought personally it was very, very good, very lively. Once we did go 2-0 down, it obviously did flatten a lot of fans, and it was sort of hard to pick up an atmosphere from then. But I think in general speaking, it was a great atmosphere, a great occasion. And, despite the result, I was so happy to be there. And I think that we will reach Wembley very soon again in the future.
I mean, Matt, I'm keen to get your thoughts after I speak to Mark. But I watched on TV, thought that was really good. I couldn't hear my United fans, but again, maybe that was just where the cameras and everything were positioned. Mark, how was your day on Sunday, apart from the result, obviously?
Very long, because as we said off, my accommodation was out more towards the Essex way, but yeah, as Network Rail like to do, they like to do engineering works on a Sunday to inconvenience people. Yeah. So by the time you get your replacement buses and then get on one tube, then get on another tube, I think I left where I was staying at 9:30, got to Wembley Way at 11:30. Had to join the queues just to try and get into places by then because it was absolutely chocker. But even then, like at 11:30, when you're thinking like how long it was to kick off, there was still loads of Newcastle fans. Yeah. It was more like "Where's Wally," which, funny enough, is the nickname. It's the nicknames to the Man U fans anyway. Because you couldn't really spot any of them. But no, so I think I ended up in the White Horse. Really nice place. Yeah, even if London prices are a little bit steeper than what we're used to. Up here, the cheap northerners. But no, really nice atmosphere. The pub was lively, yeah, constant singing and that, just like really, really having like a good time. Whether or not the atmosphere where I was in Nutman Level 5 was partly down to the fact that most people were probably out of breath by the time they got up there. Like I said, the flag display was amazing. Love the fact that obviously the stadium announcer, who's been the stadium announcer for years and years and years for us, got to be part of the bit, doing the little bit of a warm up. Don't really like the Man U one. He seems a bit of an arrogant something. But no, it was great doing that. Obviously, as soon as Local Hero came on, the 32,000 Newcastle fans thought we just need to sing the tune along to it. So she had 32,000 people basically singing to Local Hero. The only thing which I do think maybe spoils the atmosphere, and it's not just for us, but I think for everyone, is you've got that club Wembley ring between the lower and the topper tier, which sort of splits the fans in two.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes has a grasp in it. Thankfully, Joel could see the display because he was in Club Wembley, so he didn't have any of the displays to wave or any flags and that. So he was able to just sit back and enjoy the
other half
that we put on there.
Yeah.
My brothers, like myself and Matt, had to be part of the display and wave them with flags and that. But it was.
I thought Matt wasn't there. Matt, were you there?
Oh no, yeah. I think he arrived Sunday.
Yeah,
he wasn't there.
Sorry, Matt. I said you weren't there. I do apologise. That's Mark lied to me there. That's all it was.
No, I didn't. I just said he wasn't there at Trafalgar Square.
Sorry.
But no, I actually thought we started the better side.
Yeah.
In the game. Like I said, we're just wasteful in that aspect. I think defensively we're probably.
I mean, we'll get into that.
Naive for them, but yeah, it was good.
We'll get into that. Thanks very much. We can talk to Lucas come on about the result, and we'll obviously talk about it a bit here. I haven't even watched back the highlights. I can't do it if it's too difficult. Once was enough for me. I can't do it again. Matt, just in terms of the match itself, overall, what were your feelings on why we didn't win that game? Is there a particular reason, or I don't want to single out a player, but maybe there is a player? Or, what are your thoughts coming away, or what were your thoughts? Maybe they've changed.
Just going into the game, I felt as though Man United had the momentum and we didn't. We haven't really played that well recently. Over the past few months, we haven't really been creating goal-scoring opportunities and chances, and we have a lot of the ball, but I mean, it's good to have a lot of the ball, but you need, in the day, you need to score. And Man United just had 2 chances and they seemed to put them away, whereas we didn't really have those chances to put away. So, in hindsight, it just felt a bit like an anticlimax because leading up to the first goal, it felt like the best day ever. Seeing everybody at Wembley and my emotions are that high. I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that at a game before. I felt like regardless of the result, I was still going to be happy. But it turns out as soon as that first goal went in, it just felt like even a lot of the crowd just seemed to, I don't know how you felt who were there at the game as well, but I felt like when that first goal went in, it just went a bit flat with the supporters. It just felt like, all the excitement and the hope, and it just felt like a lot of it got sucked out. It was especially me, and I was near the top, and everybody else near the top. A lot of people were sitting down, so the atmosphere wasn't probably what it should be. But that's just my opinion. But it just felt like a big
amateur. And you were there, so you can speak from experience. And I've certainly heard other commentators talk about, as in Newcastle commentators talk about the atmosphere and said it was flat and it wasn't quite as raucous. And I think a couple have described this as being really nervous and comparing it a little bit like the Southampton home leg, where whenever they scored, even though we're 2-0 up, we're still really nervous and very tetchy. And I think that just comes from not winning the final, or not winning the cup, for a very long time.
Stu, I've got to say as well, like leading up to that, the support was literally phenomenal. I mean, the support was still amazing, but it did feel as though something changed when that first goal went in. It just felt as though, all that excitement and hope, and everyone just seemed to be. I sort of felt defeat by half time. You always have a little bit of hope. Don't get me wrong, you always do. You always have that little bit of hope. But it felt as though it would have been nice to go into, to the 80th minute and still be 1 goal down and still be creating these opportunities. But we didn't seem to be. And it just felt like that walk back to my hotel was the worst walk I've ever had to do. And I'm still not over it now, like you said. I haven't watched any of the highlights. I know in hindsight, it'll come back to me and I'll think, you know what, we got to Wembley and it's only our first full year of a takeover. Of course, I'm absolutely buzzing, but you can't help but be disappointed. and I'm still not over it yet.
I got
I've got to
so
be honest
angry
with
I shaved off most of my beard. Just couldn't handle it. Felt I needed to do something. Take control and everything. Joel, who played well for you, and who? No, I don't want to say it purely. No, I'll say it. I think it's worthy because it's going to lead us into a discussion later on. Who played well and who played poorly? One or two players.
For me personally, the best player on the pitch when he came on as well was Isak, because I think he was playing that number 10 role. He was fluid on the ball. He carried the ball. I don't really remember him ever losing the ball. He was always trying to be direct in the attack, create attacks. He was in and out of the play, and I just thought that could be a little hint that his more suited position may be in that number 10 role, and whether that changes Eddie Howe's mind on, deploying a 4-3-1 or something like that, with Gordon possibly coming in, because I'll add on this later, but I think Almiron at the minute, this is a whole other debate. It might be time where we see him dropped to the bench. But I'd say for another player that wasn't up to his best, I'm going to put this one out. This might be a bit controversial. His passing and everything was great, but I thought Botman didn't have his wisest 90 minutes.
He's been a bit wobbly, I think, recently. Not terrible. I think his problem is he set himself such high standards. Like, I'm almost on top of high standards, that when he's not playing 9 out of 10, you're like, ooh, that's not a great performance. But I actually agree with you there. I don't think he was great. I think maybe he's very young as well. The occasion maybe got to him a little bit. John Gandhi, just to jump on what you're talking about there, saying Bruno was excellent. I agree with that, John. Yeah, I thought he was good. You don't agree with that, Mark? No? From where I was sitting, I thought he was good. You don't think so? Why?
I actually think he was, from the standards that we expect from Bruno, I thought he had a really, really poor game.
Because what was he doing? Not doing, maybe, as you're going to say?
I just don't think he was as good in terms of the way that he's good at, like, the tackling aspect, the being able to just bring the ball forward, and that there was, I thought he had a poor game in that. It might have been, if you're sort of like judging him on other players, you might think, he was okay. Mm-hmm. But because of what we expect from Bruno, I actually thought that was an off day for him. I thought Dan Burn was poor. I thought,
look,
Maxi was poor. I thought Callum Wilson
Maxi was all right. I think Maxi was good first half, and then was completely marked out of the game. 4 men on him in the second, couldn't do anything.
He should have switched wings.
They could have done that, and that's down to Howe. He decided not to do that. But I thought he tore your man a new backside the first half. So much Dallo, so much so they had to take him off, or had to get Wan-Bissaka on, who dealt with him a lot better. But to be fair, he dealt with him a lot better because he had 2 other men on him. Like they were doing to ASM what players have been doing him for a little while, and just meant he couldn't move. He didn't know what to do. But I thought he was maybe one of the better players in the first half, along with.
And on Isak, when you said he didn't put a foot wrong, did he not miscontrol the ball in the second half towards the touchline?
I don't know. I didn't say that.
I mean, there might have been like an odd mistake, but I just thought he was excellent when he came on.
The one thing I'm going to say is I don't actually think. I think there's sometimes been like a little bit of criticism over carriers. I'll put this way: Nick Pope would not have saved that first goal. And the second goal was an unfortunate deflection, which you can't do anything about. Other than that, I actually thought Karius probably kept winning.
Karius was fine. Anybody that turns around and says, I mean, maybe you disagree. I don't think Karius did anything wrong. He picked the ball at the net twice. Couldn't do anything about either of them. Someone had said, I think, if Pope said he saves that second shot because he gets bigger, he doesn't go so low. I don't know. I think that's really harsh.
An incredible save for a keeper to save.
You're talking a world-class save to stop that from the yards. And the power that it generated, it shouldn't have, because it was a scuffed shot from Rashford, but it generates so much power because it bounces off Botman's leg. I don't think he put a foot wrong. He can be very proud of his performance, if you ask me.
I would say that game would be enough for me to say that he should be our second choice next season and looking at getting rid of Dubravka.
Don't disagree. Dubravka, frankly, I mean, I've seen a lot of memes about him getting a medal, and us not, and they are funny. But I'm just like, that's enough. off you go. Back you go. I don't want to be having that. John Gandhi again. Talking media drilling over Casemiro. Thought he was anonymous, burning all over the place, cycling the ball, breaking through the middle. I don't know. I thought Casemiro was very good. I didn't think he was quite as good as everyone had said. He did do a lot of running. I think it was there was a noticeable part where it might have been the second half. It was first half. Tail end of the first half, he just scored, and the ball's about to go for a corner, and he pelts down. A slide tackle stops it going out. Like, it's that commitment. I thought he was good.
He won player of the match.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it necessarily. I think he was good. I don't think he was incredible, and they were talking about him like he was world class. I think he is a world class player, but I don't think that was a world class performance.
I don't think Man U were incredible, to be fair.
No, nobody was, and I think that's it. Matt, in terms of I suppose where we go from here, we're gonna move on because we're talking about it, and I think I don't know about you. I am getting more worried. I'm not being a negative person about it. I said at the start of the season on this podcast, I would have taken top 7 on a cup run. Check, did a cup run. Didn't think it would win anything. This cup run, we did that. And we are currently 5th. Arguably, if we win 2 games in hand, we might be 4th. That's incredible. Very, very pleased. Over the moon with that. But I am worried because I think teams have worked us out a wee bit. And I'm worried because I haven't seen Eddie need to make a massive change in formation yet. And I'm wondering, will he do that? Because Bruno apparently is out for Saturday. Looking very unlikely anyway, injury-wise. Things they've said. And without him, it's pretty sparse in centre mid. How do you feel about the season and the team moving forward for the rest of the season, Matt?
Well, when we've been speaking previously, at the start of the season, we were overachieving, and we were overachieving for quite a while. And now it's got to the point where we are becoming quite predictable. Miggy in the final, you could see what he was doing. Like when you spoke about Isaac, who come on, Joel, like he was so direct and he actually gave us something different. But it seems like Eddie Howe does like to play that 4-3-3. But for me, it just seems to be a little bit stale now because Callum Wilson hasn't been the same since the World Cup. I don't know if that's because of a long-term COVID or something, but just something's not quite right with him. Now, I would like to see him change it up and address that and maybe switch it up a bit up top because it seems to be that teams have found us out and they seem to be hitting us on the counter-attack. And
what would you like
vulnerable
to see formation-wise with maybe those front 6 good midfield? What would you like to see?
I'd like to see Isaac dropping the 10 or Gordon in and around that area, and I'd start playing Maxi, but on a regular basis. But the problem is, if you do that, it leaves Burn a lot more vulnerable. So I'm not sure how Eddie would address that. I'm not sure myself, but
drop Burn.
If you're playing Burn and Maxi, you'd have to put Joelinton.
Target fit.
Yeah, but you could play Target, but would it be harsh to drop Burn? I'm not sure. The problem is in a minute. I
don't think it's harsh at all. Drop and Burn.
I think
the problem is at the minute at the back.
Sorry, Matt, you go ahead.
At the back, that's not the main problem. The main problem is creating chances and scoring goals.
But I think it leads into that. The main problem is in the back because you're quite right. At the back, that's not a massive issue. Although we'll have conceded a few set pieces, which Burn maybe isn't getting to. But going forward, scoring goals because of the way Eddie plays, he needs those Roman fullbacks, and we may as well not have one with Burn. Like him a lot, scored in the quarterfinal. I think he's a great lad. But realistically, if we want to, you heard Amanda the other day, we're going to win the Premier League. We're going to win the thing. Music to my ears, fantastic. We're not doing that with Dan Burn at left back. We're not even doing that with Dan Burn at centre back. So
you're saying the defence isn't the problem, but we're conceding more goals now. In terms of the record, then we have done previously. So the defence is the problem because otherwise we wouldn't be conceding those goals. So you look at the games where West Ham would have won that game normally. Liverpool we could have drawn that game.
Maxi played better with Target. I remember that being a thing he signed last year and he was on loan. I remember Max playing really quite well with Target because he's more of an attacking fullback and gives it that option. Not dissimilar to how Mickey and Trippier played, where there were sort of 2 attacking fullbacks. One can dip in, one out. That's not going to happen. Burn is so, I don't even think he's limited, defensively minded. He's like, I'm not going forward, I got to get back. So he sort of sits into that. I think this is one of Eddie's first big tests, because it will take a lot of stones, I think, to call what it is, to drop Byrne and to bring in Target back into the fold, because he's popular and he's a leader. But I think that takes precedence. I'd be doing very similar to you, Matt, with the number 10. I'd be dropping Wilson, I'd be dropping Miggy, I'd be dropping Byrne, at least those three. I'd be bringing in Gordon for one, Isak in as well, and I have a Maxi up there, and I'd have Target in there as well. I don't know if you feel any different, Joel.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much said that in my tweet today, which I asked on Twitter. I'd do the exact same, and I'd even consider playing Maxi on the right wing. I think if you look at into his stats and his contributions from the right, they're significantly more, prolific than when he plays on the left, even though we haven't really seen that this season. But yeah, I think Gordon, he's gradually being introduced. I think he will be starting soon. Isak, for me, he's got to be starting, whether that isn't a number 10 or if he stays with a 4-3-3. I think Wilson, you can sort of agree since when he's came back from the World Cup, he's not been the same player by any means. I think he's not as lethargic as he was maybe 4 or 5 games ago, but I certainly don't think he's playing up to the levels that he was pre-World Cup when he was trying to impress Southgate. So yeah, I'd like to see Gordon in, Isak, and Target as well. I think would offer that overlapping, which Dan Burn, yes, he done against Southampton. He did score that goal, but that was a rare sort of move that we haven't really seen from him since. So Target coming in, yeah, I think that would be more attacking. In, like you said, he's linked up with Maxi in the past, so that's something to look out for.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Robert Moore saying biggest problem in the latter part of the season is the lack of goals. 100% agree. I can't see where they're coming from at the moment. Wilson's form has been non-existent since the World Cup, and it has been. He's been very poor. Can
I just add, Stu? We've still got the best defence in the league. It's only been the past month or so we've started to look a bit shaky at the back. Callum Wilson has scored 1 in 15 games, I think it is. Yeah. So to just go and say the defence is the problem, I think that's a bit harsh, personally. We look fine. We don't look good on set pieces. Absolutely, we look terrible on set pieces. It seems to be like in training. Yeah, we don't focus on set pieces.
I don't think we're saying. I'm certainly not saying defence is the problem. It's not. In fact, that's why we're still 5th. If the defence was the problem, we would have slipped down a lot more. In the league, we've lost 1 with Liverpool twice, obviously. Even though we've been poor, we've still drawn games. So we are still very defensively solid. I don't know how much of that's down to Byrne. I really don't. It's not me being facetious. I don't know. And does the change up with Target, does that sacrifice that?
Long term is not the answer, is it?
Oh God, no. But neither's Target, really. And we're sniffing around.
You need a specialist left back if you want to be getting.
Sniffing around Tierney, apparently. I think he'd be a good signing. Yeah. A good player. Yeah. That in the summer we need a left back. We've got Harrison Ashby, so we'll have a deputy right back now. Trippy is fine, fit enough to do everything. Need cover at centre back. I mean, you guys can fill in the blanks. And our centre mid, we're crying out for one, a proper number 10, Madison. So there's definitely a lot of positions to be filled and squad depth to do it. The rumours going around about big money spent in the summer, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, because I think we as you guys have said, we overperformed this year. Even if it finished 7th, we overperformed this year for our squad depth and where we are and the money we actually spent. I mean, just on the side, it sounds better, and it probably is a bit better. I saw how much money Man United have spent in the last 5 years, and it was more than Man City. And, you see what's been done with them, and they're bleating about not having money spent in this, that, and the other. It's just a bit galling, when you see all that stuff. And we've been really careful with the FFP and really frugal, I think, for what we've done. Mark, moving forward, and I'm talking about the rest of the season and maybe looking ahead to the summer, what would you like to see happen?
Well, I've put a line up on the screen.
Indeed.
Maybe looking, with you saying the Bruno injury, especially for the weekend, looking at something like that.
So Target, you keep playing, is that 5 at the back, is it?
It's 3 at the back. So it's like a 3-4-3. But considering that we are going up against like your Man City side, at least you've got your Trippiers and your Targets that can sort of like fall in there. But I just think you're looking at that. I think Gordon has looked good when he's came on. Yeah, so if you're looking in the form aspect of it, ASM deserves a start. Gordon deserves a start. Isak deserves a start. I think you need Joe Linton in the midfield because of his combativeness. I think you need Longstaff in there. I know there's comments about Willock and that, but I just think Longstaff does the hard work in there. I think if you've got Shaw, Botman and Byrne, you're probably going to be a little bit more solid at the back because you've got three rather than the two. And then it frees Trippier up to maybe be a little bit more adventurous, in that aspect. So it is there, but I do think, if we're going to play four at the back, I do think Byrne probably needs a bit of a time out of the team. Whether or not you then move him into the centre and maybe give Botman a rest because of the fact that he is young, that you've got that option when you do that and you bring Target in. Maybe move to the 4-2-3-1 aspect in that, because then that could give you the option to maybe bring in like Bruno in somewhere. You've got all those options. You can move Joe Linton back out to the left. You've got Willock, which can come in. But I just think it shows the fact that on Sunday, they're bringing on Jadon Sancho, we're bringing on Jacob Murphy.
And Matt Ritchie.
Yeah.
For his testimonial. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I know.
quite
As soon as you're bringing on Matt Ritchie, you know that you've lost the game because you're going,
I almost turned it off. I left the room.
It's like he's just went, how are Matt going? You're leaving in the summer. I'll stick you on there.
Thank you.
So it was that. And he did, like with Elliot Anderson, he would say, look, go on, I'll just get yourself on there. Yeah, get a bit of experience there. So, but talking about experience is the big issue. They had experience of players who played at the big time in Casemiro, in Rashford, in that. We didn't. We haven't had those types of players in that. And maybe we do. So like Trippier has probably had that. Maybe we need more.
He's the only one. One of the pods previous or what when we're talking about it, he was the only one with real big game experience. John Gandhi, sorry, with a really good point here. Man U subbed over 203 million pounds. It's crazy when you look at our bench. Matt Ritchie's worth negative money. Dear bless him. And a good point here from Black Mamba. So Eddie wants to keep the dressing room stable and balanced. We need improvement, strengthening across the board. We have a good amount of players who brought us back to the championship. Again, a really good point. And a big part of Eddie's management style has been, he wants intensity, but he also likes that. He has that leadership group, and Callum Wilson's part of that. And that's obviously been very effective. I'm curious to know from you guys what you feel about how ruthless you feel he needs to be in the summer.
Very.
In terms of, in terms of the likes of play. I mean, Matt Ritchie's almost a non-starter. We know he's not going to be there. That's fine. I'm thinking of more your Jacob Murphys, your Dan Burns, maybe even your Sean Longstaff, people like that. I'm not necessarily putting them all in the one bracket. I'm just talking about that caliber of player compared to the caliber or level that we want to be at. Again, we're ahead of schedule, so we shouldn't be going, well, next year Champions League football, we shouldn't. I don't think, maybe we will. If we spend 300 million, maybe we'll do. But I think that if you'd asked me at the start of this season, in 2 years, will you be top three? I'd be like, well, no, we're not be top three. We'll maybe be thinking about trying to make a run for 50 with slow building compared, because we just fought a relegation battle. Do you know what I mean? So
300 million in terms of the types of players that we're going to be looking at isn't going to go that far. We're not going to have massive overhauls, but you're getting rid of the likes of your Carl Darlow's, your Paul Dummett's, your Matt Ritchie's, your Ryan Fraser's. Those are the types of players that you're going to be looking to move on. You look at the fact that Yuri Tillemans is a free agent at the end of the season as someone you could bring in the midfield, and he's going to be a massive improvement in terms of what would have. Madison's got a year left, I think, after that one. Marcus Thuram is out of contract at the end of the season. So
I think we will be approaching him on loan.
Think so?
In the summer.
Thuram?
Yeah.
He's out
do you
of
think
contract
we'll
in the
loan
summer
for the season, do you think, Joe?
Marcus Thuram's out of contract at the end of the summer, so it won't be a loan. It'll be.
Sorry, not on a loan, on a free. It was us and Tottenham rumoured, apparently.
So you look at that and you think, and Marcus Thuram as a third option as a striker. Yeah, so you've got really 3 good strikers there that you can go in. Tillman straight away is improving your midfield, and you're looking at it and going, right, okay, so we've got 2 really good players, and we've still got all this money to spend, which could be to bring in a Madison, to then bring in a Kieran Tierney, who I think would really suit the way that we play, and then you can have the 2 Kierans as your wing backs.
Right,
the 2 KTs.
Matt, a good point there from John, saying if we get into Europe, we'll need even more players because we'll have extra amount of games to play, providing we go fairly deep in that. Do you share Mark's opinions on that, or do you feel that the core group that we have, like, obviously we want to see signings. I don't think anyone's going to deny that, but are you happy with that core group you want to see added to, or do you want to see a bit of a shake-up? Matt, you're on mute.
Was it me, Stu? Yeah.
It was me, yeah.
Sorry, my connection's playing up.
It's all right. Did you get the question?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, so I think we're probably 2 or 3 windows short of where we want to be. I still think we've got probably 5 players in the team at the minute who need to make way for other players. In the summer or in the next transfer window or the one after, I think we do need a number 6. We need a number 10. We'll definitely need a left back. We'll need a right centre half. We're going to need probably another forward and possibly another winger. I think that's where it needs to go over the next
Would you
window
put
or
Mickey
2.
in that bracket?
Whether how much to spend on each player is obviously a different matter. They might obviously have to balance it out.
Miggy's an interesting one that Mark's brought up there. Just saying new deal in it. I was thinking after Sunday, bloody hell, what would do that for? I'm fine with Miggy. If Miggy's happy to play on the bench and be an impact player, no problem with that at all. It's if we've signed this contract and it's now going to be, he's definitely going to start for X amount of times. And look, he's a top scorer this year. We can't be knocking him. But it still makes it difficult to sort of think that he'll be our main winger, if we're pushing for Champions League. Like he was in a hot streak there, Rashford-esque hot streak before the World Cup, and the World Cup has massively snookered us. But I think there are definitely better players out there. Joel, you've pointed out that there are definitely better players out there. Okay, I think we're all kind of in agreement. Bit of a shake-up's needed. I'm very interested to see how we line up against City, not even how we play. I would like to see us apply ourselves a bit more than we have been recently. The irony, of course, being it's probably a game where you'd be happy for a draw. Like you'd go and take a draw at City, that's fine, not concede, take a draw. Whereas in the past couple of games that we've expected to win, like West Ham and others, when we haven't, it's been, we can't finish and we can't do this. So it's a good challenge and a good test for us. John has asked a question. Do you think we'll sell anyone to balance the books? I think we'll get rid of the usual one, the ones that are expected. Who do you think, Mark?
No, I think who will get money for?
Well, good point. Yeah, it's a very good point.
Because we'll not get money for Richie. We'll not get money for...
Yeah, well, the ones that won't get money are going to be your likes of your Richies and people like that. People who either wind down the contract or move on. Maybe friend of the show, Isaac might depart.
ESM's an option that he's put on there.
Yeah.
I could not see him leaving. I just when that comes up, no, I really can't.
Not much for if someone throws through silly money at it, and I mean like 60 plus, I'd be like, okay, fine.
Because any 40 to 60,
40.
Anyway, we're signing for 16 million.
Oh yeah, but we're no longer in that profit business that you don't need. Yeah. We don't care about that. When you can dip into stuff, why not keep him in the squad as an impact? If he's happy to stay, and a game play on the bench, he's like almost the perfect impact sub. If he was playing well, maybe he needs consistency. John
Gandhi's right there.
Yeah,
he's 100% on that.
Yeah.
But you look at that though, and we're looking at the finances now, but I think there'll probably be quite a few lucrative deals coming our way in terms of things like maybe like official, because that's look at Man U as an example. They've got an official flying airline sponsor, and so you can do all these sort of deals in that to bring in this sort of money. You could have Aramco is our official energy sponsor. All these sort of like ones, like I think Monster's our official energy drink sponsor. So you've got all these sort of like deals that could come into play. And like I said, that could bring in like a 250-300 million spending spree in that aspect of it. So
apparently you can spend whatever you want because Chelsea are doing that. So I think we can
we just need 10-year contracts. It's
fine,
fine. It's all fine with those sort of ones. But it's going to take a long time. Like I said, this is the problem. If we'd started a little bit slower and built up to be maybe in the top 5, I think everyone would have been buzzing. But the fact that we started really well and we went like to 3rd and 2nd and stuff like that, and then now we're dropping, everyone seems to be negative. And I'm like, look, even where we are now, it's a weird look. We survived relegation last season. We've overperformed. We may still, it may be something that could. I just think maybe we need to freshen up. I think maybe Eddie Howe's a little bit too loyal to some of the players.
That's a worry for me. That's one of my worries. I think he's a very loyal chap and stands by his players. And I worry that he would take, for example, I'm not digging out Dan Burn, but Dan Burn, for example, I think he's such a good influence. He's such a good lad. I can't drop him. I was like, you really can. You have to be ruthless because he was ruthless with the likes of Bruno when he came in. We didn't start him straight away. He made him watch and made him let him, sort of work his way into the team. And I think he would have done the same for Gordon and Botman, but didn't have the opportunity due to injuries and probably circumstances. We'll move on very, very briefly to our last sort of semi-talk. We skipped one there, but we're moving on, and it's to the events on Saturday night. And we all saw a lot on social media. I was getting a lot of WhatsApps through from everybody. I was very, very jealous. I just want to get a very brief from what you can remember about Saturday night and your experiences about that, and then we'll finish up for the evening. Joel, you've already mentioned a little bit. You were out on Saturday, but how was the sort of the night in general and the atmosphere pre Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it was an unforgettable experience. I'm going to be biased, but I put on my Twitter, it reinforced just how immense our fan base is. I just don't think there's a fan base as loyal. No other team would make that big of a deal. I mean, you've seen Sunderland do it, but we've done it 10 times better than them. We've actually cleaned up as well. That's for
no crap any fountains. That's a plus.
Yeah, no, that's always a positive. But genuinely, I can't explain. Everywhere you went in London throughout the Saturday, it was just black and white, huge queues.
Yeah.
Outside pubs, and I genuinely did not see a Man United shirt until 10:30 on the Sunday morning, and I'd been out all day Saturday. Didn't see one. I mean, they rocked up for kickoff 5 minutes before, then went before their own team.
Be fair though, they live in London, so they didn't need to leave the house until quite late on the Saturday.
Nothing wrong with not living in the place.
Yeah, they actually might have made it home for tea. They probably weren't singing that, But Trafalgar Square itself, that was absolutely unbelievable. I said at the time, I thought, Christ, actually we've made quite a mess here. But then I realised there was so many people that stayed behind and obviously cleaned it up. But I just think, that from 4 o'clock, I think when I first went there, it was already busy. And then during the evening, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, it was just an unbelievable experience. And the fact that our owners were there, kind of in disguise, just partying along. Fender rocked up with obviously Johnny.
I saw Johnny was there. I didn't know Fender was there. That's
Fender,
cool.
Fender did rock up, also kind of in disguise. Yeah, and you know what, right? I'll briefly speak on this. We've had him on.
Can we say Longstaff was in disguise because he was wearing a hat which sort of hid his distinctive red locks?
Yeah, of course.
What were you going to say, Joe?
I was going to mention, just big props to Adam P. He was there. He was recording, and honestly, the lad could not walk a meter without getting stopped. Photos, videos, and he handled it so well. He was
a friend of the pod, Adam P.
Yeah, Adam P. He was there, and honestly, he's just he's such a good lad now, and I think he's proved to be one of the best Newcastle bloggers/vloggers, and he was loving it, and I rate him because he stopped for every single person getting photos and videos.
He seems a nice lad, and I wish him well.
Now he's moved into memos.
He has, but it's all part of it.
To be fair though, you couldn't really move that far in Trafalgar Square anyway.
You couldn't know, but like he was continuously getting stopped like everywhere he went. So
yeah, Matt, what about you? How was your Saturday?
Well, I was absolutely gutted because I couldn't make it because I was working on the Saturday night. So I had pictures. I saw everything, literally every single detail of what happened on the Saturday. I've seen it and I'm jealous. But you know what? It was literally the best thing ever to see because I've seen so many other groups of supporters go down and do that. So it's about time we did it, but we did it properly. You know, and then when Joel mentioned, obviously, when they cleaned it up, when I saw those pictures, I thought, you know, we can do exactly what we did and clear it all up. And it just felt like that just sums us up as a fan base. It really does. And it was amazing to see.
About it today, actually, about the fact we cleaned up. I think some from a London council was on the
Westminster.
Yeah,
who was it?
that.
Westminster City Council, because obviously that's
that was really nice. Someone was like, fair play to them, and you know they don't care about football, but that's fine. And they were just like, that's really nice, and it was nice. I think when the Japanese football team cleaned up their dressing room, we just like, or changing room, we were like, that's really good. Fair play to them.
I'm sure the Co-op and Tesco around Trafalgar Square were absolutely buzzing that the Geordies were there and were like, again. No, come again. Yeah, come anytime. It's fine.
Win again. Yeah.
They're probably doing the best.
How was your Saturday?
Like really, really good. Obviously met up with most of the lads who were in London from 360, with the exception of Joel, because we're just not good enough for him. Yeah, he holds himself to a higher standard than the rest of us. But no, we're met up. We decided to go for a pub that was still sort of like central London, but just a little bit away from Trafalgar Square. Still, obviously, some Newcastle fans in there. Still, had some really good drinks on there, so we could warm up, shall we say, before the
event. I'll just say you would not know the amount of people in shirts somehow, but it was freezing.
It was a really, really cool. Probably colder than it probably is up here. Actually,
it was. I'm telling you, that night was
freezing. It's freezing on the game day as well. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I actually thought it was okay, and then it got colder as the match went on because it was getting like later in the day. But no, we ended up getting like the bus to Trafalgar Square, and it was just, you stepped off the bus and all you could hear was Newcastle fans and the chants and that, and they were like, "Oh, we're close." I went, "Yeah," they were really, really close. And I also think, wasn't it over the weekend there was only 9 arrests made?
Yeah,
and they were like for public order offences, and the majority of them were like during the game. So yeah, it was a really sort of like well mannered thing. I think the police were all there. Really they were having a laugh. They were, which I will say, you've got to praise the Met Police for that, because they were just there. They were standing. They were enjoying it. They were, a
lot of them were from up north that had been sent down. Actually, that's what.
But there was still some of them, and I just think, the other thing which I'll also say, big up to the police, is when I was leaving, I was passing, there was a poor elderly lady who was trying to get, must have been away from the area, and I'm like, "Oh, you came here at the wrong time, haven't you?"
Yeah.
But no, it was like really, really good. I think everyone sort of like got into the swing of it, from the stewards in the stadium. Yeah, you had Chelsea fans, stewards and that. They were like, "I hope you beat Man U." I'm like, "So do we." To the staff on the tube and that. I just Londoners might get a bad name, but I think everyone was sort of like so welcoming and stuff like that. And I think you're probably going to say well done to LNER, because I don't think they probably had an exodus from Newcastle over the 3 days as they've had, and probably the return of fans that they've had in that aspect of it. So props to them, because it was, like I said, I travelled down on the Friday and the trains were chocker then. So I've got no doubt the trains on the Saturday were even busier. But no, and like I said, it was just to see a black and white everywhere you went in London. I agree with you. I did not see a Man U fan until 10 o'clock on the or 10:30, and that was only a couple of them. So I could probably count on both hands how many Man U fans I saw, and that was until I probably went into the stadium. And then even when you got in the stadium, it was 10 minutes to kick off. and there were still tons of empty seats, and I'm going, do they know the kickoffs are for?
Part of me gets annoyed by it. Part of me understands it. Man, you're a bigger club than Newcastle. That's not. We know this. That's fine. One of the reasons they're bigger is they've won way more trophies, and therefore that leads to more fans and blah 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 blah. So
they haven't won in 6 years, and that's what annoys me.
Tragedy. How have they managed? You know, what a tragedy. But the fact that they tried to make that a narrative, that's not a narrative. Like, come on. This was a new Ten Hag, but they really didn't care. I mean, I know you guys were all there, and you all have said this to me and others in different ways, that they weren't harsh. They wanted to win again, but that was just, they wanted to win because they were there already. You know, it was win the trophy, throw it in the boot, close the boot, right? Next game, you know, move on. And you can say, what's being professional? You know, we would have had a bus parade for it. It meant so much more to us than it did to them. And that's one of the reasons why it was hard to swallow that they did win it. I was like, oh, great. You know, you see when they won, the fans were like, yeah, good stuff. We went ballistic. You know, we all would have went completely mad.
We'd have still been in Wembley Stadium on Monday morning.
I'd still be crying. It would just be bedlam. I would have booked a week off work. You know, it's just, but that's, our time will come. As Amanda said, well, I don't share Amanda's incredible positivity, but our time will come eventually. We will get
She
there.
didn't put a time limit on it, though, so, you know.
No, she didn't. In 30.
But I agree with you on that sense, because I said we left, me and my mate left probably after the Newcastle fans, so we were like, we're into all the Man U fans. And you would not tell that they'd won a cup. There would,
this is
a couple of Shearer chants and that, but they were just sort of like silence and quiet. And I'm just like, one, I did sort of enjoy a little bit after, because I was winding a few of them up, which I tend to have that effect on people, but
it's fine.
But I will say that Robert Muir, the comment, I loved that, immensely proud of the Newcastle family over the weekend. To paraphrase Ron Bird, indeed, you stay classy, Newcastle.
It was classy, cleaning everything up and doing it rightly. We'll finish with that comment in a second, because I think it's a lovely comment to put down. And I'll be honest, I got a bit glassy-eyed whenever that happened. Whenever they started waving, I just was like, lads, come on. I just didn't do the repeat, and it was still happening. They still cheered. You know, if it was 2-0 another way, there would not have been a single Man U fan there. That's obviously hyperbolic, but there wouldn't have been there. This is a random one, but I wanted to ask you anyway. Hypothetically, Eddie does well again. Let's say we don't get Champions League football, we'll get Europe, and he gets his quarterfinal in Europe. That's okay. Maybe Pardew or Pardew, but quarterfinal, and maybe gets quarter, semis of a different cup, and sort of gets in and around, and maybe in our final, but we don't win a trophy, and that lasts for, let's say, a couple more years. Maybe we'll hover around that fifth sort of spot, fifth, sixth. We don't actually get a thing. I'm not. It's maybe a romantic element of it, and it's not a doubt on how I think I will deliver his trophies. I think he will get Champions League football. What would your thoughts be about looking at a manager that's won trophies years down the line? Are you completely averse to that? I'm just curious. There's one very obvious candidate, which I don't think Mark likes, but the romantic in me likes. What would your thought, Joel? You're nodding your head. What
are you on about me?
Well, yeah, possibly.
Joel,
what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, right now, obviously, it's all love. How I do. Yeah. I love the man in his managerial style, off the pitch, everything about him. But logically, you have to step back and place, a neutral, impartial decision. If we haven't won trophies and it's been, I don't know, like you said, another 5 or 6 seasons, then I think it's a logical thing to do. You'd look for someone who's won trophies and possibly has that experience where Howe doesn't. Who are you referencing, by the way?
I think Jose Mourinho wins that
final.
final.
I thought it was him.
I think he wins that final on Sunday. I do. I think he wins it with that squad. I think he can. I'm not saying he's a long-term option. I'm not saying I want them. I'm not saying his football's even good to watch. I think he wins that final on Sunday, or at least gets it to 0-0 or something close to it. Eddie has brought a bit of a nastiness to it, but he's a proper nasty bugger and encourages that. And horrible. Look, Chelsea fans have all talked about it. They hated watching their teams, and I'm not saying I want them. I don't necessarily. I'm just saying I've loved watching us. It's been so good, but God, I want to win something. I really want to win something, and I almost want the manager that can just win stuff. I don't care about the style of play. No, and this is in the aftermath of a loss after 24 years. So that's why I feel like this. I know that 2 weeks from now, if Eddie's even won a couple of games or is back on the horse, I'll be like, he's amazing. I still think he's amazing, but he is the one and he's going to take us there and never mind anybody else. That was just my feelings at the end of the game. I think Mourinho wins that final. Like that's just what he does. He just wins finals. Might be through dark art, might be through this, but I think that's what happens. You disagree, Mark?
I don't disagree with the sentiment and the thought of bringing Jose Mourinho back, because I've always said there's just that sort of like sentimentality aspect of it, because he's Bobby's protege and stuff like that, and yeah, it would just be lovely to see him come back to Bobby's club and to do that. The one thing I do disagree on that is that even Jose Mourinho would not have won the cup with that squad.
I don't know. I think we have played much better than that. I think that was half the problem. We've seen our high mark here, and our high mark blows that Man United team away when it's high. It hasn't been high since before the World Cup, quite honestly. So that's very difficult to switch it on. Like it was Anderson was on the radio talking about it, the ex-player, and was saying that it's very difficult to switch it back on if you've not been on form, and we haven't been. So that's my logic there, but we'll never know. It's be interesting. Matt, how would you feel about any sort of other manager coming in at some stage down the line? Or are you still very much it's never going to happen? You're very much
I'm happy with. Well, I'm obviously I'm very, very happy with it. Yeah, I completely agree with Joel. 5, 6, 10 years down the line, and we still haven't won anything. When these owners come in, your overall standards and expectations have gone up. So if you don't, these owners want to win trophies in the next few years.
He's got 2 to 3 years max.
Yeah. All of us as fans, we want to win trophies, and you don't expect to win them, but because of these new owners, that they literally have those expectations to go on and spend all this money and invest in the squad, and they want to be up near the top of the Premier League. They want to be winning all the big trophies. So realistically, as a neutral, and you take a step back, like Joel said, it's going to happen. Somebody else will come in, and I think the world.
If we're going to be ruthless with players, we're happy ruthless with managers as well. And I'm not
absolutely
thing, but Champions League would be almost akin to a trophy initially. So within 2 to 3 years, I think he has to get his Champions League football if they continue to spend money as they've said they will. If they spend no money in the next 3 years, fair enough. You can, as Mark said, you can't expect this squad to be pushing up for Champions League football. Not even the team, but the squad. I think once the squad gets to a point where everyone deems it Europe worthy, like could compete in Europe, even just at a Europa League level, having the depth of squad, you need to see that. And I think he'll do it for the record. I'm not saying he won't. I'm just curious. It's always those what ifs and things like that. Anyway,
I think he'll do it.
I really believe in him. We'll finish off with 2 comments here. One from John, who says, and we'll put it up right on the screen, but the fans did us proud, still singing, waving flags in the 90th minute with 2-0 down. Yeah. Just a mark of you'll all agree, a very special fan base. And then again, Robert, I can't wait for the day we'll be 8 to Liverpool Manchester in a cup final. Me too. I love that.
I completely agree with that comment. Oh man, it was tough. The only other team apart from Sunderland that didn't want to lose to was Manchester United, because I've got a real hatred now, and I'm going to be honest, got a real hatred of glory hunters. Like, I really can't stand it. And I saw a lot of Man United fans creeping out of their houses down the road in Wembley, coming, half an hour before kickoff. I saw literally a couple of people do it, and I thought, I can't be having this. We can't be losing to people who just support a team. I'm quite passionate about it. You don't support a team because they win stuff. That's not how it works. In my opinion, that should not be how it works. You should support a team.
Just in your saying that, on the Monday when I was waiting to go around, I seen a bus full of Chinese Man U fans. But Chinese Manchester United are getting on the bus to probably go back to the airport. It's like they're flown in just to watch the final, and then they're flying away. Yeah, and it's like Man U's having to fly fans in, to be honest, just to watch them.
A bit about being very successful and having a lot of money. I'm going to see and it's nothing to do with ethnicity. It's literally like you see these people coming in, fans coming in, from all over the world, and
they're going to have a more diverse fan base. That's just
that's totally fine. I have no problem with that, obviously. But if they're in and they're literally there just to have social media presence, or they've got the cameras out. I mean, there was and we talked about it before in the pod, the very famous scene of this season. I think it was comparing Leeds home to Leeds playing away at Man United or something, and Leeds scored, and everyone's going ballistic. Limbs in the air, going crazy. Not a phone in sight. And then it's compared to, I think it might have been the World Cup, or it might have been a still from Manchester United or Spurs or Chelsea, or pick a top 6 side, and everyone had the cameras out. Someone scored cameras. It's like, what are you doing?
That guy at the World Cup gets everywhere. He was there on Sunday.
He was there. I know. Fair play to him, to be fair. Fair play. He got a lot of stick. Yeah, look, I mean, on your thing, Matt. Yeah, I mean, I live in obviously Northern Ireland, and obviously because the Northern Ireland League isn't as high quality as the Premier League, surprise, everyone supports the Premier League team. That's why I support Newcastle.
But sure, it's different though. You didn't support Newcastle because we win things, do you?
Definitely not. That would have changed a long time ago.
These fans, look, I have
he
a lot
did,
where
because he started
I'm
when we
from.
won the championship.
I did not. Although we were okay. I think I supported us from about 95, 94, 95, because we'll just probably get into it. So we hadn't signed Shearer, I know that, because I remember seeing it on Newsround, being buzzing about it. Teletext and Newsround was the main sources of information in those days. Show me age, yeah. So yeah, I get that, Matt, and it's frustrating because they've hitched their wagon to this these glory countries, and you wonder where they were whenever they were through Man United's terrible wilderness of 7 years or 6 years without a trophy, yet still having Champions League football and things like that. So hard to stomach. Anyway,
you shouldn't be supporting a team. You shouldn't be supporting a team if just because they win. You should be supporting a team you either have a connection to, or you got family, or you're from the area. Or that's just how it should be. Unless you're from abroad, and it's completely different. But if you're born in this country and you're from this country, if you have no relatives from the area or don't support that club, and you then you choose to support these clubs who win trophies, then.
But I don't think they truly
support the Midlands accent.
That's fine.
Well, my dad's a Geordie. I didn't have a choice.
Okay, but even if they weren't, like I will argue to blue in the face. I'm as much Newcastle supporter as anyone from Newcastle. I know I physically can't go to the games. It's not a case of me deciding not to. You bet your arse if I lived in Newcastle about every game, and away games probably as well. But it's almost chemical, what I've said to people before. Like, I am not from Newcastle, and also none of my friends are from Newcastle fans. It would be very easy for me to stop supporting Newcastle technically and just not mention it, because no one asks me questions about football or Newcastle. They don't care, so no one really question it. I could sort of forgetting about it. I could leave it. This is when we're miserable, ashy years and terrible, and I thought about doing it. I've almost tried to sort of shut it out. I'll not watch the games. I'll not do this. I'll just completely blank on it. It's depressing me. I can't do it. I can't do that. Like, physically, I'm unable to do that. I've tried maybe a couple of different times over the years, supporting the club for 30 odd years. I've tried to do it. I'll shut it. I'll not worry about it. It doesn't work. It's almost like an addiction. It's like, well, I'll just check. I'll just check a thing. And that is something that it baffles me when I see someone going, oh, I support Man United. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you just have a shirt. Yeah. And it's not even saying you're a Glory Hunter. It's like, you don't support them, because supporting it's almost like a chemical thing. You can't turn it on and off.
You wake up in the morning and you're thinking about it.
Yeah, it's just there. Like, during the takeover attempts, even before it, the amount of times I checked Twitter, like I checked one day and it was like 5, like I don't even know what number. It was an insane level number, because every single thought running through your head, you're just thinking about it. So it's crazy. It's an addiction almost, and it's what makes days like Sunday very difficult to stop.
Because it's a team that are used to winning things, and I've got a lot of friends because I'm from the Midlands. My dad's from Newcastle, and all his side are. So I didn't have a choice to support Newcastle. But a lot of my friends around here are the Wolverhampton and Villa. I don't have a problem with that. But when I've got friends around here who support Manchester United and Liverpool.
That's what baffles me as well in England, when you've especially in cities where you could support a big city, a club in a big city. I don't understand that. Like, you're from Birmingham, and you could support Villa. you're from Villa and you decide to support like City. You're like, what? Like you get to go to the games. The stadium's on your doorstep. I don't understand that. You know, like I'm from a wee town called Carrick, and I like Carrick Rangers, and they're not very good. They're okay. I don't really go to the games, but I like them because they're from there. That's it. Like I wouldn't decide I'm going to support a team 600 miles down the road. Why? Well, just because wouldn't make sense.
Who don't win anything either.
I'd say just one thing I wanted to pick up on, because there's been a couple of things on Twitter and that where you've got certain Newcastle fans saying, I'm sick of these fans going, oh well, yeah, we're lost, but I really enjoyed the weekend. We shouldn't have that mentality. Yeah, go get stuffed. Yeah, basically, if someone said to me now, you can do it again next season, but it'll be the same result, would you still do it? 100%.
Absolutely, 100%.
It was great. Yeah, it was like everyone was together. Like just everywhere you seen it was black and white scarves and stuff like that. It was a really enjoyable weekend, and everyone.
There's not many of the fan bases that would do it that well. I'm not just saying that. I just don't think there is. Like, it just shows.
No, it was like. I'd still say Sunday, even with the game, I still think Sunday was probably one of my most enjoyable. To be fair, I was on form before the game, with me quips and comments and that, which, it was but it was just like it must have been because I was on a high, and but no, I would still do it, a million times over, because just to be able to say we're getting to Wembley, because at least we're then getting to Wembley. Do you know that? We haven't done it for 24 years.
With experience, something you'll not forget in a hurry, I dare say, and hopefully there'll be more times to replicate it. Moving on to the years. But we'll fly on for the evening, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Thank you for the comments. Loads of comments tonight. It was really nice to have everyone get so involved. So please, keep it up, and in future videos, it'll be lovely to have you along. And if you like and subscribe, it helps us a lot. So that would be great. So thank you very much. We'll see you again. I don't know, Mark, previews for Man City match might be, don't know.
Friday
for the preview then on the channel, and we'll preview what will be hopefully a win, or maybe a draw, or hopefully not a loss to Man City. Okay, lads, thank you very much, folks watching at home. Thanks so much again. Have a good night. Bye now.